Mom thinks she is 13. You might be thinking, what? What does that mean? We're gonna check out a story by My Story Animated about this mom who thinks she's 13. So yeah, let's get right into this. Alright, let's get right into this. 3, 2, 1, drop a like, let's go.
Where is it? Turning my whole closet upside down looking for my black top. It was literally the one cute thing I had. Just then,
I
Mom
just
walked
love these
into my
animations, I can already tell.
room, all dressed up for a night out, in a shirt
Okay.
2 sizes too small for her.
Yeah,
Mom,
come on.
that's mine.
Come on, Mom.
Give it back. I have to wear it to a party. Don't be such a baby. Wear something else. Then she picked up
Wear
my
something
earrings
else.
from my dressing table and was off before I could even protest. Living with my mom was like living with an out-of-control, greedy, stupid teenager.
Yeah.
As if she didn't have enough things of her own, she was always stealing my stuff, too. And Dad's. One time,
Come on.
when I was about 6, I remember she was about to go out wearing Dad's black shorts as a dress. I giggled because she looked so funny, but Dad was furious that she was going out looking
so
so
weird, Mom.
ridiculous. As I grew up, I started to find her silliness less funny. Once, I had friends over, and it was so embarrassing when they walked past Mom's room and saw boy band posters plastered all over the walls.
Dude, what is
We were
wrong with
listening
you,
to
Mom?
some music in my room, and she came and joined us and wouldn't stop dancing like crazy.
Gosh, that is embarrassing, Mom.
Mom always wanted to hang out with my friends when they were over, all except Brittany. For some reason, she just seemed to hate her. No matter how nice or polite Brittany was to her, she couldn't even get a decent hello out of Mom. Once when we were in the 4th grade, Brittany
Come on,
and I
Brittany.
were having the time of our lives when Mom walked in. She went absolutely insane on Brittany for teaching me how to make all this junk food and for turning me into a cow just like herself. Brittany just
Great
stood
animation.
silently. What's wrong with her? I should report her to Child Services for being so mean. I'm so sorry, Britt, I said
Lock her
after
up.
Mom had walked off. It's okay. My dad's kind of like that too. Don't be mad. She's your mom after all. Fine. I won't report her. I'll just choke her in her sleep maybe, I said, and we both burst out laughing. Of course, Brittany didn't come over much after that, and that wasn't even the worst of it. What I found the most annoying was how much she gossiped. I'm sure her neck had stretched
She
a
acts
few
like a
inches from
teenager.
always peeking over the garden fence to see what our neighbors were up to.
She didn't become a giraffe.
She was in everyone's business. Dad hated it, and they were always fighting. Just the other day, I came down to breakfast to this conversation. Why were you looking into our neighbor's bathroom while he was showering? Dad was asking Mom, sounding disgusted. That wasn't the bathroom, you idiot. I don't know what your problem is.
Hey,
She
be nice.
shouted back. I sighed and left for school without breakfast. I was so sick of all this fighting. I was her complete opposite, so we didn't really get along. She kept calling me a nerd
such
and
a
a
rude
freak,
mom.
which really pissed me off. One day in school, as I was putting my stuff away, someone came by and leaned against the lockers. I looked up, and all of my notebooks went crashing down on the floor. It was Peter, the one I'd been
Peter.
dreaming of
Oh my
every
gosh.
day and writing about in my diary every night. And he was looking right at me. He laughed and helped me pick up my things. I'd turned as red as a tomato.
Tomato?
I don't
Oh,
remember what
God.
I managed to say, but I definitely just stared at him with my mouth open when he said these words. So, Mandy, would you like to go watch the game with me tomorrow? I looked around as if I was expecting another girl
Mandy
named
and
Mandy to be
Peter.
standing right behind me. He knew my name? I managed to stutter out, yes? He said a casual, pick you up at 6, and walked off. I just stared at his back, and then I ran off to tell Brittany. We were both screaming and jumping up and down with excitement.
Love the
next few
animations.
weeks seemed right out of a fairy tale. He was so charming and cute. He gave me flowers and took me out on intimate
What a great
picnics
story.
and to baseball games. But of course, I wouldn't invite him to my house. My crazy mom would freak him out. As I was admiring myself in the mirror in this really cute dress he'd bought for me, Mom walked in. I could see her greedy eyes taking in my dress. That would look so much better on me. Red's really not your color, honey.
That's so rude. Come on.
Just rolled my eyes and ignored her. But what she said next left me in tears. I have
What'd she
no
say?
idea why the most popular boy in the school is suddenly into a nerd like you. You're really not his type. She laughed and she walked
Get my new mall. Go to the mall store and buy a new mall.
away. Ouch! I brushed away my tears angrily, but felt better when Brittany said that I looked hot. I ran out when I heard Peter's car outside. He looked really distracted at dinner and was constantly texting. He got up to go to the bathroom, but his phone kept pinging. I turned it around and the name Jenny kept popping up, but I decided to let it go for now. He was supposed to come over for a study date the next evening, but he said he had football practice going on till late. An hour later, I logged onto Instagram and saw that Peter was at a party at some girl from our school's place. Was Mom right? He didn't really like me? No, that crazy woman could never be right. I decided to confront him in person the next day. The next day, after his football match, I stormed onto the field, but when I got
What are those bowling pins? Wait,
there,
what?
I saw him walking off the field towards me, looking mad as a raging bull. Just as I was about to shout at him, he shouted first. Can you believe it? I've been kicked off the team. I fell silent as he went on and on about how his stupid friend had him, and they'd gotten into a fight and Peter had punched him. The idiot coach refused to even listen to me and has disqualified me for the rest of the season. I can't afford this, Mandy. I need that sports scholarship for college. With angry tears in his eyes, Peter grabbed his things from the locker and left school early that day. I tried to call him a few times, but he just wouldn't pick up. The next morning when I went to school, I noticed that everyone was gathered outside, talking in hushed voices. I could smell smoke in the air. Brittany said that the sports complex had burnt to the ground last night. The firefighters had managed to put out the fire completely, but everything was ruined. Oh, all my precious things. Just then, Peter joined us, looking shocked.
So many bowling pins.
And said he'd heard the awful news, but he was definitely having a hard time keeping the grin off his face when he saw Mr. Jenkins crying. Jeez, what a loser, he said in a low voice and walked away. I followed him out after class to talk. A few steps behind him, I saw him take his phone out and make a call. Yeah, I know. Really burned everything to the ground, didn't we? That was fun. I turned
her face in the background.
Back around, feeling a bit sick and really alarmed. Was my dreamy boyfriend a psycho who had set the sports complex on fire? Peter was either a cheater or a criminal or both. I needed to know more, and for that, I had to recruit a Class A snoop. My mother. I wanted to smack her face because she looked so smug as I told her everything. Once she was done putting nail polish on, she looked up at me and said, "Okay, sure, honey. I'll see what I can find." Wow, that was easy and kinda sweet. It's gonna cost you. How much will you pay me to watch your boyfriend? Of course. I said she could have half my monthly allowance now, and I'd pay her more later when she found something out. Oh, and I'm going to need that red dress, too, she said, winking at me. The next week, I played it totally cool with Peter. He was being nice to me again. As he kissed me one day, I just felt myself melting. Maybe I'd just made a big deal out of nothing, I thought. Or maybe I hadn't. It turned out to be even worse. When I got home from school one day, Mom was waiting in the kitchen for me, almost hopping with excitement. She told me she was friends with Peter's dad, and he'd invited her over when no one was home. She winked as she said this, and I cringed. Ugh. And she had excused herself to go to the bathroom and snuck up to Peter's room instead. Mom said, I looked under his bed and found some things. A huge poster of Dr. Phil, a can of kerosene, and, oh, some pages from your diary. I read the first line and fell off my chair. I stared at them in horror. They weren't the actual pages torn from my diary. These were photocopies, and they were all from the days before Peter had asked me out. My face burned as I thought about how he must have laughed at me as he read them. I saw Mom's face, and it made me even angrier. She was trying very hard not to laugh. Of course, she had read them too. Furious, I grabbed the pages and headed over to his house. I walked into his room and slammed the door shut, but he still didn't hear me over all the things he was blowing up on the screen. I reached over to him and snatched the headphones off his head. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" he yelled, jumping from his chair. "What the is this?" Spat, throwing the pages at him. Oh, poor Mandy. You really were so easy. I guess there's no keeping secrets now since you've been a little snoop and found it all out. I stood frozen on the spot, not sure what he was even talking about. He told me that someone had given him the diary pages and begged him to ask me out in exchange for doing all his assignments, projects, and college applications. It was a great deal for him, and he needed to focus on his football. You're lying, I shouted. Who else would be able to take my diary? Think hard, Mandy. Think real hard, he said, grinning. Mom? My mind was racing. No, she was crazy all right, but she was too dumb to do his schoolwork. I could only think of one other person who could have sneaked out my diary. I gasped.
Who?
There was only one person. Why? I managed to say. She really seems to hate you. She told me to ask you out, make you fall in love with me, and then dump you publicly. I snatched back the papers and threw the glass of soda sitting on the table at him. I'm not gonna let you off the hook. I'm reporting you to the police.
Yeah.
I screamed furiously. For what? Making you think I was in love with you? I'm sure they'll slap on the handcuffs for that, he roared with laughter. For burning the building down, you psycho, I said. He stopped mid-laughter, looking at me stupidly. I heard you talking to someone about how much fun it was to burn the place down, I said. He was in fits of laughter again, wiping tears from his eyes. He told me I was the dumbest spy on the planet, pointing to his TV screen. He said that the video game is what he had been talking about on the phone with his friend, and the can of kerosene was for cleaning paintbrushes. I stormed off, feeling utterly humiliated and stupid. I had to talk to the person who wanted to humiliate me, my best friend, Brittany. When I rang the bell at Brittany's house, she didn't look surprised to see me. Let's talk outside, shall we? She said. With tears rolling down my cheeks, I waved the pages at her and asked her why she would hurt me like this. What had I ever done to her? What she said left me in complete shock. It's your dad. Or should I say, our dad. Brittany looked furious as she explained that she had recently found out that we were half-sisters, and our dad had abandoned her mom. You got the chance to live with your real parents, while I lived with a man who never loved me and always abused me. Mom was too weak to do anything. It's not fair. I hate you. I couldn't believe a word of it. There had to be some mistake. I ran back home and barged into Dad's study. Tell me the truth about Brittany. He stared at me, turning pale. He started crying and explained that he and Brittany's mom used to work together and he fell in love with her because she was so lovely. But Mom couldn't take care of herself, so he couldn't just leave her. He had to choose my crazy mom. Just then, Mom came in. She looked at our faces and was immediately dying to know what was happening. Dad and I stared at each other silently, not sure how to break it to her. I want to know what the two of you, but suddenly we were interrupted by the sirens of a police car right outside our house. We went out to take a look, and suddenly two policemen walked straight up to Mom and told her she was under arrest. We were all shocked to find out that one of our neighbors had reported her for trespassing. Their security cameras had caught her breaking in and snooping around their rooms. Mom kept protesting that she'd been hired by someone as an investigator, as if. While she was being dragged away, she looked back at us and screamed, "At least tell me what you guys were talking about." Jeez. Dad walked up to one of the officers, gave him some money, and said, "Keep her in there for a few days, will ya?" He turned around to me, smiled, and hugged me. Now we can finally have some peace.
Aww, what a cute story. Well, that's all. So, hope you guys have enjoyed. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video. See ya.